All right, we should be live. Very good. OBS keeps updating and changing things, so I need to make sure I'm hitting the right button sometimes, but I think we're good. And now we can start episode 169. Nice. Of the
Nice.
podcast. Yep. We've hit the nice number twice now. That's how long I've been doing this. Huge. So, that's good. Anyway, uh you hello, welcome.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Tell, introduce yourself to the class.
uh, so I'm Viper, also known as Viper UK on speedrun.com and Viper Races on Twitch. And I'm a racing game speedrunner. I can also be a general gaming speedrunner at times. But racing games is my main niche. And yeah, I've decided to take up GTA on his offer for the podcast. So here I am.
Yes, if you notice watching live, this is Saturday and not Sunday. I ended up having to have a very busy weekend and it threw all my plans out of the way. So had to get a last minute addition. So thank you for helping out. I know a couple people reached out as well. You were just the first one I saw. So I'm glad people try to help me out in my times of need to keep the weekly streak alive. So it's
Hey.
always good. Now, racing. I'm actually a big fan of racing games and the speedruns, so it's quite fitting. Obviously I tend to have a more interest in like the kind of kart racers and stuff, your Mario Karts, etc. But I've dabbled a bit in some of the more like get realistic. Uh, there's varying degrees of that, obviously, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah, it's one of my favorite genres, so I think I'm eager to learn. Yes, you understand.
yeah.
Obviously, my favorite's probably like a more open world with driving. GTA is in my name. You can kind of probably piece that together. And then for speedrunning, I'm more of a platformer guy to do myself, but I do love watching some racing speedruns. So I guess we'll start getting into it because there's a lot to
Sure.
talk about.
Oh yes.
Oh, yes. So speaking of starting, how did you start?
Uh, so in terms of starting speedrunning, so back in, I want to go as far back as say 2010, 2011, around about there at least, from what I can remember. I remember browsing through Twitch one day and noticed a guy called Adam AK was speedrunning GTA Vice City, which
Yep.
is obviously a classic Grand Theft Auto title, of course. And I remember because I had distinct fond memories of that game. I was genuinely curious about. I just started using Twitch at the time, and I'd watched a few brief shows. So I watched maybe like 5 10 minutes of GDQ. Didn't really think of speedrunning as a hobby or picking it up or anything like that. And then I ended up sitting down. I was like, "Oh, GTA Vice City was one of the games I remember playing as a kid. I know I shouldn't have, but still,
We all did though,
we've all
right?
been there. Yeah, we've all been
Of
there, right?
course, yeah. I made my
So I ended
username when I
up
was like
scrolling through.
11, so you,
I was
you...
gonna say it works quite well. I mean,
Yeah, right?
GTA, so it's great.
It works
Especially how
out.
it's like capital GTA as well.
Yeah, which is
But
I'm
yeah, like
glad I ended up
with
speedrunning Mario, not confusing at all. Anyway.
yeah, yeah, very true, very true. Uh, yeah, so with Vice City, it was a case of I was on Twitch and I was watching, just browsing through, and I remember GTA Vice City being one of my favorite games as a kid. Which is ironic given that I run racing games, but it was one of them games that wasn't racing primarily. It wasn't
It's in
driving
there.
or car related.
Yeah.
It's in there, but like the main focus of Grand Theft Auto is like guns and shooting and stuff, and there is driving in there, like as
Mm.
part of the game. But yeah, as a whole, like it was just a fun experience of a game. And anyway, yeah, so I ended up seeing this guy called Adam AK, and sometimes he still streams every now and again, but it's very rare. But yeah, he was speedrunning GTA Vice City at the time. He was doing the any percent category back when it was cone crazy that you had to do for like 10 minutes to get enough money. And this was before like mega dupes, like replay dupes and things were found and that sort of thing. There was still duping involved, but There was a lot of different money saving to do firsthand, so there was a lot in that. And I tuned in like as soon as I started watching him, I was hooked, and I watched him do like Vice City at any percent. Like every night, he would always stream, so I'd always sit down and watch him. And then he did like a GTA Vice City 100% and a Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess 100%, a
Hmm.
game that I'd also played and very much enjoyed. And he did a run of that as well, and that was quite interesting. But yeah, so that was like back in 2010, 2011. And obviously, as time went on, I'd been watching speedrunning from the sidelines for a couple of years at that point, on and off, not as a major thing. Every now and again, I tuned in to see what GDQ was doing, whether it was Zelda, Mario, whichever, whatever game it was. And I'd watch it a little bit, and I was just like, I could never get into that, beating a game dead fast. I couldn't ever do that. And then I think it was in 2013, maybe, or no, sorry, 2014. Back in, I want to say maybe May, June, something like that. I was starting to get into Twitch streaming a bit more myself. I'd done some streaming in 2012 and 2013. And I got to 2014, and one of the main games that I picked up straight away, and I've still got it, it's in my collection, it's a classic, is The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yeah.
Essentially GTA for kids, that's what everybody calls it. But it's a great game. It was very, 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 very fun. I enjoyed it, and I knew I could beat the game. And I played it through, and at the time, a friend of mine who I was playing and talking to, well, also I was playing with the game and I was talking to him. He said like, "Oh, have you ever considered doing speedrun?" I said, "No, no, 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 no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I can't do that." He's like, "Why not? You beat the game. You seem to know like everything about the missions and how to beat them." And I was like, "Yeah, but there's probably some ancient strategy I don't know about." Or anyway, so I had a look on the leaderboards at the time, and I was like, "Do you know what? One run can't hurt." So I did a run. I think it was like a 208, 209. Had a couple of mission failures in there. And then as time went on, it was like, okay, so I got further and further away. And I did, for like 2 weeks, I was on the buzz with speedrunning. Specifically, this was a certain run. And the last run I did was like a 1:56:43, so I got under 2 hours, which for a console run back then was really good. The major runners were doing like in the 140s, but they were playing on PC.
Mhm.
And I didn't. I don't know if I had the PC version or I wasn't keen on the idea of jumping to PC. I wanted to stick to console. So that was where that came from. Anyway, after this 2 week stint had happened, I went to California for a couple of weeks. I was on holiday with family, and I come back and was straight into doing college work and just playing games in general. Didn't really take up speedrunning. Was focusing a lot on my YouTube channel, which isn't that popular, but like it's grown a lot now, but like it didn't back at the time. I think it maybe had like 200 or 300 subs, maybe a few more than that. But yeah, I ended up like doing a lot more videos and focusing more on that. So Twitch and stream and all that and speedrunning, it all took a backseat until December 2015. So I call like that 2 week section that I did in 2014. That was like my first stint, quote unquote, my introduction to speedrunning, to doing it. And then in 2015, I'd found out about, so I knew about like speedruns live and what else? What other websites was there at the time? Like I knew about like W split, timing methods and things. Speedruns Archive, I think, was the other one, and
Speed
then
Demos Archive.
Speedrun. Yeah, yeah, that was it. Speed Demos Archive. That was the one. I think SRC might have been a thing back then, but it
I
wasn't very
Yeah,
popular
I think
as
it
it
came
is
out in
now.
2015. Uh, I don't quite. I wasn't around yet, so I'm a little hasty on my, a little fuzzy on my knowledge. Uh,
The one of the things I do remember was that like the gaming list was obviously have your Mario's, your Sonics, your Grand Theft Autos. They're all in there. But I was looking for racing games that I played as a kid, and I remember specifically finding that Driver One, the first driver game, had a speedrun leaderboard, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" Because I've beaten Driver. It took me like God knows how long to beat the final mission as a kid, and I absolutely hated it. But like, I loved the game for what it was. So anyway, that was kind of it. Gave me a bit of a gist, and then I saw that Colin McRae Rally 2, which is one of my favorites. The original Colin McRae Rally game is one of my all-time favorite games. I love speedrunning it. I love playing it in general. Just absolutely have played it since I was like 2 or 3 years old on the PlayStation, and I'd played that for so long, and so I was a big fan of the first two games specifically. I played the other games, and everything, and liked bits and pieces of them. But the second game was on at the time, speedrun.com, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna get, I should get back into speedrunning because it's been over a year and a bit, and I can't remember at the time I couldn't remember the last time I'd done it. So I ended up getting the game. I ran it on emulator. It was on PS1 emulator at the time, and I got W split. I set my OBS up and my streaming layout and everything. I remember people using XSplit, I think, the old
Mhm.
streaming software, which I think is still going today, but like OBS is the main stream software that a lot of people
Yeah.
use to do everything really. And whilst I got everything set up and I started doing my first ever speed runs, and yeah, then it set off again, and here we are, like what, 11 years later, still going.
So the second
Haven't
stint lasted a
really
little
put it
longer
down.
than the first one.
You could say that, yeah, yeah.
Just a
Just a
little.
little longer.
Well, it all works out. So, was it
Yeah,
always
it's
just like in the back of your mind to try to pick it up again, but you were just too busy with the schoolwork and everything?
well, truth be told, it came about because when I was in college at the time, so obviously, like, when I was after I'd finished high school or secondary school, and I was in college at the time, I ended up stumbling across, like I said, Speed Demos Archive, I think it is, and
Mm.
SRC, which was now in a rejuvenated form. It was revived, and I was like, "Oh, look, there's Driver, there's CMR2," and I just remembered that in 2014 that I'd had this 2 week break, and I was like, "Why did they ever put the Simpsons Sit and Run down? Why did I stop speed running?" I couldn't remember the reason why. I think, like I said, at the time I was focusing more on YouTube,
Yeah.
and at the time I think because of all the time and attention was going into that, that's where everything diverged, and I ended up going down that path. But then I was starting to get a bit, I don't know, YouTube kind of went down the way of like, it felt like a lot of effort for no reward in
Mm.
any way. Whereas with Twitch, it was more relaxed for me. So YouTube was like trying to put everything together and do all the editing and that sort of thing, cram
Mm.
everything, as much information into a video as you can. And editing can take anywhere from like a couple of hours to a day to even a few weeks, as some of the editors will do it. But at the time, I was not. I'd already done YouTube since like 2010 at that point, and I was like, not, I was looking for a way out essentially. I didn't really want to go down that path. I put a fair bit of effort into it in 2015 at that time, and I was like, no, I need to. Twitch seemed like it opened the door for Twitch to have a, how would I call it? Like, it opened the door to be more relaxed, to not have to worry about doing all the editing, and to be like, I can just chill out when I'm streaming. I don't have to have all this pressure to edit the videos, like get 5 videos out a week like I am for YouTube, and it was more of a relaxed thing. And speedrunning was a good way of doing it because I had the streaming part, which was very more relaxing. But then the speedrunning thing was a case of, so as a kid, I wasn't mega competitive, but I had that competitive spirit, especially in like some of the games that I played. I ended up like really practicing them, and I did racing leagues as well in like 2012, 2013 on racing games, and I got really competitive. So I had a bit of a more competitive nature by this point, and speedrunning seemed like that perfect hobby to just release the competitiveness and just go for it, because essentially speedrunning is competitive. Like,
Hmm.
let's not be around the bush. It is very, very competitive.
You're
And if
either
you've
competing
got
with
a
others or
competitive,
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So if you've got a competitive nature, it's perfect. Especially if it's like you're trying to either want to be the best or have that aspiration to really try hard at something. Speedrun's a great hobby to do that, and that was, I think, where the what do you call it, like the hook came
Hmm.
in, where it was like just hooked on it from there. So yeah, it has been a long journey for the last 11 years, but yeah, I think it was mainly just a case of looking back and going, I forgot I did that last year. This was like 2015. Looking back on 2014, I was like, oh yeah, I
Hmm.
forgot I did the Simpsons Hit and Run. I wonder why I didn't do it anymore. And then was like, I should get back into that one day, and then just did,
Yeah.
and never looked back ever since.
Yeah. So it was just a more comfortable fit for the kind of
Yeah,
content you
yeah, yeah.
wanted to do. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, I definitely prefer, you know, not having to edit anything. I've only ever really done just streamed content, so I get it. Definitely much more relaxed because obviously I know a bunch of people who do like full-time edited content, and so I've heard a lot about, you know, the intricate details that go into it, and it can be a lot. It can be hard, and you have to have the right like creative outlet and experience on it. You know, anyone can probably edit, but to really build up your
Well, that's
skills, it's going to take a while. So,
that's the thing. I feel like with streaming, like you could stream for 6 hours and
mhm.
obviously have breaks and things like that and take it easy and just chill with your community that you've built up, or to build a community and to chill with them. Whereas you can spend 6 hours doing YouTube editing, and don't get me wrong, like if your editing's good enough, you'll gain the reward of how good your content is. I get that.
Mhm.
I do believe that there are a lot of great content creators on YouTube. Speedrunning wise, there's some really great ones
Oh
as
yeah.
well. Whether it's coming down to the history or like games being busted wide open because a little glitch was found that nobody knew about for like 15 years. Yeah, there's a great amount of content on YouTube for that sort of thing. But yeah, Twitch is more. I'd say Twitch is more relaxed, not in the sense
Yeah.
of like its terms and conditions or what you can and can't do on it, but in terms of the whole, just after work, like I've come back, I've come home from work and I can just sit and chill, play games for a couple of hours, talk to my community on Twitch, not with with no care in the world, just talk and just chill and play games, even speedrunning. But just like in general, you can do that with a YouTube channel. I can't do that. It's like I'm
Yeah.
there constantly, like making the edits as good as they can be, and you're hoping that the end result will gain you something, really,
Hmm. Yeah,
with
you
the
don't get
editing
live
side.
feedback,
So
which can be
no, exactly.
really nice to have. Plus,
Mm.
yeah, I do think streaming is a lot easier to get into. Obviously, you can just start streaming. There you go, you're doing it. YouTube,
Yeah, press a button, you're off. That's it.
YouTube takes a little bit more effort, but
Mm.
I mean, yeah, now you can. Obviously, back then you couldn't like live stream on YouTube. Now you can. I don't really know how that works. Twitch has always been far more easier for me to set up,
I
but
I do remember streaming on YouTube in 2013, 2014 before I even started with Twitch, I
oh, you
think. I
could
don't
stream
know
back then.
whether I, because it was a case of at the time YouTube had its, so you had the partners program
Mm.
and some sort of like affiliate program like what Twitch has got. But I think at the time, I think the bar has been raised since then, but I think it was if you had like 100 subscribers, you were able
Mm.
to stream. The streaming software though for YouTube, it was garbage back then. It's
Fair.
a lot better now, I've heard. But like, yeah, Twitch was just, well, it was just, so is it at the time it was probably like just in TV back in them days, before it became Twitch. But yeah,
Yeah.
like the streaming service of just in TV stroke Twitch was just so easy because it was just like, yeah, you get XSplit or you get OBS, you just hit a button and off you go.
Hmm.
Dead easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I've never tried YouTube streaming. I don't know what it was like at any given point. I just know Twitch is very easy to get into because obviously I was able to do it, and a lot of people were able to do it. So doing something right.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well, anyway, I guess back into kind of the timeline of events for you. just got back into it, and then what happened next? What came of it? Going down the timeline.
S- So I gotta say, how long do you want this podcast to be?
Uh,
Because
uh,
I can make
hmm,
this 3 hours long, but like I'll give you the very 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 short story.
mm,
But basically, yeah. So I got back into speedrunning in 2015, I think, or maybe in 2016. But the time I was doing Call McCree Rally 2. I did a run of Sleeping Dogs,
mm.
the any percent for the Xbox 360. It's still my oldest run to date because I did the run and I've never gone back to the game. I would love to on the PC version. I do unfortunately have the unfortunate end. I think I've got the slowest or the second slowest time for the any percent, which is a shame. But I know that like there's time saved because I ate a pizza during that run. So like it was like essentially me versus a guy at the time that was called Lee. I think it was like Lee plays games or something. And I got chatting to him through Twitch, and me and him decided to do a race. And yeah, that was a fun time between me and him.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think
like
this year
just
I 100%ed that game, so
it's good fun. It's good
it's
fun.
good
Very
fun.
good game.
Oh yeah,
Very
I mean,
enjoyable.
obviously I love GTA likes, but that game was very unique with that. Like it wasn't just a rip off. Like they did a lot of its own stuff and pretty good.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've never played the Yakuza games, but I've heard they're really good.
Yeah, I couldn't speak on
Um,
that. I've never seen much about it.
and it's like with Sleeping Dogs, I've heard that that's a good in between GTA
Mm,
and Yakuza
I
because it kind
see.
of combines the two together
All right.
in a sort of way. But yeah, like I did going back, like I said, going back to 2015, 2016, I did Call McCree Rally 2, Sleeping Dogs at the time. I think it was more 2017 where I really picked up with everything. So from what I remember, and also looking on my Speedrun.com profile, so I'm kind of cheating with this, but like I did more Call McCree Rally 2. I finally made the jump from PlayStation 1 emulation to PC because I realized that PC was not only quick in terms of like load times, but also I could complete stages faster on the PC because of its 60 FPS or something. I don't know. Like the times I could do on PS1, I did them on PC and was like way faster. So much so that when I did my first run on PC, which looking back on it now was probably garbage, but I felt it was okay at the time. I beat the previous record, which was held by Zola, who's a Polish speedrunner, um, who held the record. They set the time of 1:35 something. I can't remember the actual final time, but that was the record. They'd beat the previous record by like 2 minutes. Then I came along and did a 1:27,
Hmm.
and it was like first run, and I smashed the record by 8 minutes. I was pretty happy with that, but I knew there was enough time in hand to drop the time to a 1:26, and I was I won't call it grinding the game, but I ended up doing a lot more runs of the game to try and get the 1:26, and eventually I got it. I think with like a couple of months. I ended up doing a lot of my sole audience was built off Colin McRae Rally 2 streams and runs that I did. It was my main speed game. It still technically is one of my main speed games that a lot of people know me for. And I think I've shown it off at near enough every event under the sun at this stage
Hmm.
in like the last 10 years. But that I've participated in, of course. But then, like at the same time, I was doing Call McRae Rally 2. I did Call McRae Rally 1. So that didn't have an SRC leaderboard, so I jumped on the chance of putting that on the leaderboard. I then set times for Call McRae Rally 3, oh 04, 2005, Dirt 2. Didn't get around to doing Dirt 3 until COVID, I think, during COVID years when I was doing that one. Same with Dirt 4 as well. Haven't set a time for some of the other games in the series, but I've gone down the path of like I think it was also in 2017 that I was doing the Driver series. I finally managed to pick some of the Driver games up, and the game that I put a lot of time and effort into, I'm fairly confident with the game now because it's been 10 years, but one of the games, as I mentioned earlier on, which was Driver, the original, it's known for having a hard difficulty ceiling, especially the car park level that everyone got
Mm-hmm.
stuck on. And I remember saying to the guy who did the record that I'm fairly certain that I can beat you. And the guy took it as a challenge. So he did like a 117. Like he got the record on PS1 fair and square, but then he improved his record by like 7 minutes.
Mm.
So I'm thinking, oh dear, maybe I'm in over my head. And eventually I got round to, I think it was 2018 or 2019, one of them 2 years. I ended up getting into doing a lot more driver speed runs and things like that. I also got into doing House of the Dead, Ford Racing, some Need for Speed titles. Not the normal ones, I'll say that. Stuff like Need for Speed The Run on Nintendo Wii, Need for Speed Undercover on the Wii. You know, stuff like that. Just like Need for Speed Most Wanted for the Game Boy Advance. Just not the main game itself, like the actual, I'll call it proper version. The ones that people don't want to play or don't want to talk about. Yeah, I played a fair bit. I also started doing in 2019, 2020. I started doing the World Rally Championship games from the PS2 era. Yeah, I ran a lot of things, like a lot, and it has just took off over the last 10 years. I've run everything from, I mean, looking at some of my games on my shelf, it's like I've done Race Driver Grid, I've done a run of GTA Baldigatone, the Colin McRae Rally series, some Forza games, including Forza Horizon, the awful Davilex racing games such as like Paris Marcel Racing, London Racer, things like that. USA Racer as well. I've done the Ford Racing Series, as I said. I had a lot through that. I did Burnout 3 for a little bit, which I absolutely loved. I've done Burnout Dominator, Legends, Paradise. Haven't done. Oh, I did Burnout 2 a couple of years back. Some of the Gran Turismo games as well. The list goes on, like Project Gotham Racing, a couple of them titles as well. Yeah, there is so many games that I want to go back to over the last 10 years that I've done runs of. I've been mainly picking up like indie racing games in the last couple of years, mainly because of the fact that developers are proving to be the heart and soul of the gaming market for
Mm.
me. At the very least, and they're not charging me like, I'll just say expensive amounts of money for a game that could be full of bugs and glitches. Not to say games like GTA Vice City, for example, didn't have its bugs and glitches. It absolutely did.
Mm-hmm.
But this was back in the days when you didn't have an internet connection and you couldn't update the game. So you let that slide for that reason. But yeah, I've done a lot of different ones. I've even tried my hand at, as I said at the start of this, that I did do racing games, and I have done racing games, and I've stuck to racing games, but I've made sure not to box myself in. I did have a list a couple of years ago of goals of games that I wanted to do either a run of or times I wanted to beat. I have since got rid of said list because I felt like that's put way too much pressure on me to perform
Mm-hmm.
to a certain level for my audience, and as a result, it's more of a case of I'm a bit more laid back and I just speedrun whichever I feel like, whatever game I feel like, when I feel like it. That has resulted in some really bizarre things, such as just to give you one great example that's happened in like the last few months. I ended up playing through Ford Racing for the PlayStation 1, the original one. And that the handling in the game is absolutely awful, really, by Ford Racing standards. Like some of the later games were a lot better, and handling was a lot better. But yeah, a lot of people, the boards were just empty. Nobody had done a run of it. I don't think anybody wanted to do a run of it. And I just got the knack. One day I was bored and I was just sat on my PC and I was playing the game on emulation, of course. And the next thing I know was like, okay, this game wasn't as hard as I remember it when I played it like a couple of years back. So started to get used to it, started to get the hang of it. Eventually beat the game. Did take a little bit, but then I started going through the game again and again, and I was like, you know what, I should speedrun this. So I did. I just picked it up, started rooting everything out, rooted it as well. And there's now a guide for the game. I've done the any percent, I've done the 100% game. Yeah, it's been a wacky 10 years, if not 11 years, for me. But yeah, it's just been like I said, I've probably speedrun most games out there. There's been times when, I mean, if I go look back on my SRC page really quick, like there are games that I want to do speedruns of, but I presume that we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like to give a mention, like there was a lot of games 6, 7 years ago that I would never have. Well, I looked at and was like, I should speedrun that for a laugh, and then actually did. There's some games that I would have never done speedruns for. For example, one of the games with it's one of the games that has a really broken any percent is Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. Now I'll be honest, I'll be completely honest, I played the Crash Bandicoot series, but I never played Spyro. So because of that, I know Spyro speedrunners, a few of them, and I've watched a few of them, and I've even communicated with a few of them. But I'm not in the community. I don't class myself as part of that community in any way because, like I said, I never really played them. I don't have an opinion, etc. But then I think it was like the Rixer, who's quite well known speedrunner wise and content creator as well. He did a race or 1 week where it was like, oh yeah, we're all gonna do Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, and we got told that like the estimate will be about 20 minutes, and I was like, that's quite short for a full game. Then realized that there's a trick, which is just you get Spyro to headbutt the ground at a specific spot. He goes through the locked gate and then gets to the portal at the bottom, and that spawns you into the final boss fight, and you defeat the boss, and that's it. Which is really funny to be honest. But like that was a run that I would have never tried. I would have never have gone for it. There was other games as well that some of them got recommended to me through Steam, through the Steam Next Fest, obviously, which is quite a popular thing. A lot of indie games on there as well. And just going back to some games in general, like there are games that, as I said, I specify racing. I'm mainly a car person, so I go for like F1 games, rally games, road racing, street racing.
More
That sort of thing is my
realistic.
niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I prefer cars with four wheels, but stuff like Mario Kart things, that doesn't do it for me personally.
All right.
But again, there is a bit of a niche when it comes to racing because racing can include anything. It can be Grand Theft Auto because it has races in it. It could be Sonic R, even though you're not racing a car, you're racing characters. It is technically a racing game. There are obviously you've got kart races such as I said, Mario Kart, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, I guess could be classed as that.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of racing stuff, but like there is also other things too. So for example, I've done a run of MotoGP for the PSP. A bizarre game, I know, but like SBKX, which is a superbike racing game. I've tried my hand at. I haven't done a run of it yet, but I played. One of the games I played as a kid was Castrol Honda Superbikes for the PlayStation One. I've wanted to do a speedrun of that for a while, but I need to actually like beat the championship and everything first. But I remember playing that as a kid. Them demo discs that you used to get back in the day, they had a profound effect, especially like nowadays. Like one of the most bizarre runs I've done in the recent years. In fact, there's two, and I'm looking right at them both. So one of them was Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. For some reason, no idea why, but I played the game as a kid. I remember specifically getting stuck on that sinking feeling where you have to fly a like dragonfly thing and destroy Cortex's ships. And I always got stuck, so I never knew how the hell you destroyed them. I tried crashing into them. Obviously, you instantly die if you do that. And eventually, when I got older, I think it was like my cousin gave me the game for the original Xbox, or my mate had it, and I borrowed it off him, and he's never had it back because he never asked for it back. I think it was one of them cases where, oh yeah, you borrow a game, never get it back. I would have given him the game back, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm not a thief. I'm just saying, like, he got rid of his Xbox and all the rest of it, so he didn't want it back. But the point remains that, like, I eventually sat down and finished the game casually back in like 2015, 2016. And then one day, again, like everything else I've mentioned already, it just spiraled out of control where I was sat playing the game, was like, okay, I beat the game. I can beat the game without dying, which is a good start. Let's see if I can do it quicker. So I ended up doing it much faster, and eventually I did like 2 or 3 runs during a Christmas period. I think not last year, the year before. I even did a 106% run, something I never thought I'd ever do about for a Crash Bandicoot game. To be honest with you. So that's the first game that was bizarre. The second one was Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing for the Java phone.
Oh, that's not
It's
where I
as
thought that was
bizarre.
going.
No, it's as about as bizarre as it gets because my partner, who I also met through speedrunning, Broken Hyperlink, she does speedrunning of Sonic games, but it's not the mainline games. It's like Java or like I don't know, maybe the Game Gear or something like that. It's usually like the mobile ports that nobody would ever think to speedrun. And she was telling me like, "Oh, you should give it a try sometime," and I was like, "Nah, there's no way I'm doing it." And then one day my brain just said, "Hey, you know what? You should give that a try because sod it, why not? You know, for a laugh." So I do have a few like bizarre entries, I'll call them, on my SRC page. Very questionable. Same with like Sonic Drift. Like as someone that doesn't do kart races, I specifically remember having bad memories from when I used to play Mario Kart on the Wii, especially the online days. My God, being blue shell literally before you get to the
Mm.
bloody finish. It just happened. But yeah, Sonic Drift was another one of those games where I tried it, didn't like it a couple of years back, and then I think it was 2024 or early 2025 even. I was playing because I was testing out some games I bought from a game market, and one of them was Sonic Mega Collection, and that has Sonic Drift on it. And I was like, I was getting used to it pretty easy, so I was like, I wonder if there's a way I can get the game on emulation on my PC and so on. Turns out there is. There's other methods, but yeah, there's a PC version out there. It's not official PC version, if you get what I mean.
Hmm.
It's a website that's got it embedded and everything. Anyway, so point being is that I did it on the PC and did a couple of runs of that, and people were immediately like, the guy says he doesn't do Sonic or racing games that are Sonic related, and yet he's done Sonic Drift. And I took everybody by surprise. I took Linky by surprise. I took a few of my mates by surprise. I haven't gone back to improve on it, but it's again one of them really bizarre ones that just doesn't fit everything else. Like you've got like racing game, arcade racer, zombie shooter, rail shooter, things like that. Then you've got like Sonic Java, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, Sonic Drift. It's like I thought the guy didn't like Sonic or just didn't do Sonic games. There you go. So I do have a bizarre amount in my SRC page. There's even some really bizarre meme games, but that's a different story. But yeah, it's been a long, like I said, it's been a long 10 or 11 years for speedrunning for me. Yeah, and it's an enjoyable hobby. I've enjoyed doing it. I'll be honest, I don't have as much time these days compared to a couple of years ago because me and my partner are trying to buy a house at the minute and stuff. We probably will have bought one, a couple of months time, but yeah, it's just a bit of a tricky time at the minute with IRL stuff going on. So as a result, I've not got as much time as I used to. But once that's resolved, we should be able to. I should be able to pick the hobby up a bit more and get back into it. That doesn't stop me from participating in events and speedrun events. So yeah, but it's. I could explain my entire history even in more detail, but yeah, just I have enjoyed it. There's been a lot of bizarre moments and memories from it. Being involved with certain communities and trying my hand at blind running some games as well. Like I blind ran Kirby's Adventure Portal 2, I think, at one stage, which didn't end well. That was like 5.5 hours by the time I finished it. But like, there are some games out there that just aren't me, but yeah, I've done them. Just to kind of either in some cases, you know, speedrunning, you're there to prove a point, to like prove, yeah, I can do this, or yeah, I want to do this. Some of the games on my list weren't there on like by accident. Some of them were just a case of, yeah, I want to do a run of that. But then there are some where I go, why not? It for a laugh. I'll do it for a laugh. And yeah, that's how some of the games end up on there. But yeah, that's kind of my speedrun history, I guess, for the last 12 years. Summed
Abridged
up about as
version.
quick as I can. Yeah. Like I said, I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
yeah, we don't want to make this podcast like 3 hours. So
Yeah, I did notice you have one of the longer SRC pages I've seen. So,
I can give you a name that'll top that
yeah,
by a long shot, but
I can give you a
yeah,
few,
it's
but yeah, still, it's up there. So,
definitely a long one.
yeah. And then obviously there was a main theme, but some some off the off the themes, I guess.
It's very interesting when someone looks at my SRC page like, yeah, he's a racing guy, he's got all these racing games, and they're looking like, hang on a minute, when you do a bit more of an in-depth look, you're like, he's done that. What the? This doesn't add up. This doesn't match.
Yeah,
I think we all have them days, to be honest.
yeah. We've all got to have some like meme or you know something different from the usual.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's fun to branch out, even if it is just for a little bit or as a joke or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, what do they say? Variety is the spice of life.
Something like that.
So yeah, every now and again, it doesn't hurt to have, you know, to try something new. Like this is the thing I will say, if you are a speedrunner already, is that there is no right or wrong answer with speedrunning. There's no certain game you have to do. You don't have to speedrun the most popular game on SRC to be a speedrunner or to get noticed.
Hmm.
You can create your own little niche, you can create your own little community, and I'll be honest, this is going to sound a bit of a strange sentence, but bear with me. Is that if you have communities and you have followers and people following you on Twitch, for example, subscribing to you on YouTube, people who will watch you for, you know, no matter what you do, will stick with you. There are people, I'll be honest, there are like I won't say like specific names because I don't know exactly. But if I stream like Cole McRae Raleigh 2 or Driver, for example, my streamer numbers are like up here. But if I stream something like, I don't know, the the game I just mentioned, what was it? The Sonic and Sega Java thing, then my view count would be like down here. So
Yeah.
people know what they want and what they don't like, and it's like, okay, that's fair enough. Or if I'm playing a game, it's like, you know, 4 or 5 viewers, maybe 6 viewers, maybe a bit more if I'm talking about something a bit more. I don't tend to go down the whole drama and stuff like that, but there have been times in like the last couple of months where something's happened and it's like it either involves me directly or something like that, and obviously people tune in for them. But
Oh.
that's not the reason I'm on Twitch. It's not the reason I do speedrunning. It's none of that. That's for a different thing entirely. But what I'm saying is that like you have your games that people will watch you for and that will love to watch you for, and you'll have games that they won't. It's just going to happen. There is always that leeway and there's always that gap. And personally speaking, like I said, as a speedrunner, if you decide to try something new and you know the numbers aren't there, don't feel disappointed. Don't think that you're doing it for them. Like you're speedrunning for yourself, you're streaming for yourself.
Mhm.
I know this sounds a bit of a cliche sentiment, but essentially, you know, you're doing it to, I don't know, you might be doing it to make yourself happy, or like I said, because you enjoy it is the main reason you'll be doing it. It wouldn't be any other reason. Or unless you wanted to do a run for a laugh. You're like, yeah, you know what? Let's get a timer. Let's do this. It's a meme. It's funny. Why not? Let's do it. So there are them reasons as well. But yeah, like overall, if you do end up changing paths and going like, oh, so I used to do, for example, like at the minute I do I am doing racing games still. But say for example, I stop doing all that and I start turning to doing Call of Duty games all of a sudden, and then all my SRC account is just filled with Call of Duty games. There's still that racing section that I've never left behind. Like that's the one thing I kind of want to clarify as well is that you, as a guy that's done racing games for the last 12 years, speedrun wise at least, racing games never for me, they never disappear. Your skill level will go down if you don't keep on top of it. It's usually how it works, but obviously you know that just like any game though, it's not limited to racing. It's not limited to anything. It's just speedrun in general. If you did a speedrun of a game like 6 years ago and you haven't touched it for 6 years and you're wanting to get back into it, there's no way you're gonna get back into it at the level that you left it at. You have to like build that back up, and eventually you'll get back to that level. You might even exceed that level, but until that happens, you'll never know. And it's just a case of don't feel bad if that does happen. It takes time, like everything. It does just take time. And like I said, changing your horizons, changing what you speed run, it shouldn't make a difference. It should be a case of you speed run what you want when you want. That's it.
Hmm.
And if you decide to step away from speedrunning or step down, etc., you can always pick it back up. It is one of them hobbies, but like any other really, where just because you put it down 10 years ago doesn't mean you can't pick it up ever again. Like you can. People usually welcome you back with open arms. I know a lot of my friends that I've met through speedrunning are starting to step away a little bit from speedrunning, or have like slowed right down and basically like I've got to focus on my life now. I'm getting married, or we've got a family with kids and stuff, and it's like yeah, I get that. That's more important. You can put this hobby down. You don't have to carry this on. I personally wouldn't say that like this is losing your life over. It's like, if you are moving out and you're buying your first house, or you've got a kid on the way, or that you want to spend more time with family, you can lose speedrun alone. There is that option to do so. But obviously never forget the fact that if the time comes and you want to come back into it, people will be there. People will watch. Like Adam AK, for example, as I said, he stepped away. He doesn't stream too much nowadays, but if he comes back, I'm watching him. Because I remember not only was he like the first spearman I ever watched, but like as a whole, it was great to watch him and just chat with him. And it's still the same now. It's pretty good.
Yep.
So
Speedrunning's cool. I can attest to that. Had to plug in my headphones so they don't die on me.
that's okay.
Anyway, um, yep. I've definitely taken kind of a step back, but it is always a thought. It's like, yep. I mean, I really want to keep doing stuff, so I don't know. I've always said once you start, you can't really ever stop forever. There'll always be something.
I think the one thing with speedrunning for me, at least, is that I could leave it alone, but in my mind, I couldn't because if I did, I know that I'd still come back. A break might not take a month, a break may end up being a couple of months. But the one thing I would need to do is set a start and an end point as to when I come back. So it would be a case of I would go, say I was stepping away now, and it was like I'm not coming back until the house is sorted out, for example, in my life, then it's like, okay, that could be 5 or 6 months, but you know that when I come back, we'll be back on track again. Plus, that break will probably help me a lot because, there's the process of buying a house, there's the process of doing it up and sorting everything out. Um, yeah, it is one of them hobbies that you can just pick up and put down whenever you want to. There is no time limits really, and there isn't an age limit either. I know that like people are talking about retiring or stepping back from speedrunning because they're getting older, they've not got as much time for video games. If you haven't, that's fair enough. But I also think that there is no age limit. It seems like there seems to be this interesting thing about age for speedrunning now, where it's like there are a lot more people joining it at a younger age, which is
Mhm.
nice. It's nice to see so many people doing it at like 12 or 13 years old, but also, holy cow, you're doing this at 12 years old. It makes me feel old straight away because I wasn't doing it till I was how old was I when I first started doing it? 17 when I first started, and I'm now 29. So it's like, there's been a lot of times like there's kids doing it now that are 4 years or even younger than that. I believe I've never met a speedrunner younger than like 13, but I'm fairly certain they exist. I've no
Oh,
doubt about that.
I've heard things. Yeah.
But it's even more mental when you consider that how good some of these speedrunners are. Like
Hmm.
there is a saying that I've stuck by, and funnily enough, it is from a racing game. It's from Need for Speed Carbon, and it's after you beat the last boss in the game. And he says, "Enjoy it while it lasts. Just remember, there's always someone out there who's a little bit faster than you are, and one of these days they're gonna catch up." And that's also one of the things that I treat it as, which is that if I stop, people will catch up. That's part of the competition. It just is.
Hmm.
The competitive nature of speedrunning. But at the same time, if you go out, you want to go out with a baptism of fire. I know some people that really grind for certain games and they're like, they get to the top and they're like, I'm done. Even if they get beat 3 months later, they're like, I'm done.
Hmm.
I'm completely done. I've done enough time with this. And then they move on to something else or they just step away entirely. I know that people do that. But yeah, speedrunning has popped off a lot in the last, I'd say, since COVID,
Oh yeah.
6 years ago. Speedrunning has been a popular thing since like a couple of years back, but it was popular 10, 15 years ago, but it wasn't as mainstream as it is now.
Hmm.
Like you're talking at the point now where news outlets cover it in certain events, like the government is backing it, or like local councils, or like for example, it's crazy. Like there are speedrun events now that aren't just held in some guy's basement. Obviously,
Yeah.
GDQ proved that they're now held in a hotel. But
Hmm.
like there are events that are collaborating with other events. For example, if I can use one that's close to me but not directly related to me, there's an event called Albion Speedrun Collective or Albion Speedrun Marathon or something, which is held in Manchester. They've only run one in-person event so far, but they did it in collaboration with Manchester Anime and Comic Con or something. So there's that. GDQ's obviously coming to Gamescom this year, as we know. Which is a massive step really for GDQ because obviously normally it's held in the hotels in
Yeah.
in America. But yeah, what I mean is like there are events like whether it's gaming events, like general gaming events that are allowing speedrunning to show up, or Comic Cons or something like that. These or tech events even that are allowing speedrunning to pop up. It shows you how much more mainstream they are becoming,
Hmm.
which is really impressive. It's very very cool. At the same time, there's a lot of people that have been doing spearrun for all these years, and some people obviously have got tired out. Some people are like, I need to put this hobby down. I need to step away, which is again understandable. And I think it's one of them where your competitive nature will probably wear off at some stage. Um, as I said, I don't believe that there is a age limit for speedrunning. Can I see myself doing speedrunning when I'm in my 40s and 50s? Maybe. Depends if SRC is still around and I'm still going doing racing games. I don't know. I would like to keep doing this hobby for a good number of years to come because of the fact of I've met so many amazing people. I think this is the one of the things that gets underwritten about, which is the fact that you meet so many different people in so many different communities and you can come out with some amazing friends. I've come out with so many amazing friends from these events. Granted, I don't see them every day, every week, or even every month, but the amount of people I've spoke to through this hobby, the amount of events I have attended in person because of this hobby, the places I have flown to because of this hobby, it's been amazing, and I wouldn't change it. It's been absolutely fantastic. I think that's one of the plus sides. I mean, I've met my partner, through speedrun events,
Hmm.
and that was something I never thought would happen. As someone who's quite shy, um, when it comes to talking to girls and things, as much as you want to believe that, because considering how much I yap, but like in general, yeah, like I'm gobsmacked that I found a partner. I mean, I didn't go to the events to meet girls or anything like that. Obviously, if you do meet someone there and you end up taking an interest in them and they take an interest in you, it happens. But like, it's not the reason I went to speedrun events in the first place. Like, I was going there. My mum mentioned it. I remember she told me like, "Oh, well, maybe there's a girl there and stuff like that," and I was like, "No, they're always taken, and I wouldn't even dare." So I treated it as
Thanks,
just a
mom.
case of treating people. Yeah, it's just like I treated it as like, going meeting people and making friends. That's it. You
Mm,
know, not thinking about the, oh well, I can find a relationship, or I can meet a girl and get on with her and all the. You know what? No, none of that.
yeah.
If it happens,
Mm,
it happens. As I said, I know that some people do get the wrong idea sometimes, but like for me, it was just a case of a chance to go and experience other countries and to hang around with new groups of people and to speak to people and to see where they're from. Like as I said, I've made some amazing friends, and I've met my partner through these gaming events, which is more than I could ever ask for.
mhm.
It is not helped me get into a nightclub or anything like that being a speedrunner. But I don't care about all that. That's fine. I don't care. I don't. I feel better just to speak to people and just to get to know who they are and get to know what they speedrun. It's very interesting,
Mhm.
especially to learn what their background is in speedrunning. So yeah, it's very interesting for sure.
Yeah. It's almost like that was part of the reason I started this. I really learn people's backstories when you talk to 170 people.
Yeah,
So,
you do.
but yeah, I've always made it a point to bring up that that is my favorite part about speedrunning was the community aspect, the relationships, however that may be that you make through it. Um, yeah, that's always been my favorite part because I don't know. My favorite part of the year and what I always look forward to is like the GDQ event. Like that is when I just have the most fun every year at this point because that's where a bunch of people I know and like are, and you do something you know and like for a week. I don't know.
That's it. Yeah, it's everyone's got something in common, and the one thing I will probably mention, actually, just speaking about events in general, is there is a lot more speedrun events now
Hmm.
than there ever has been.
Oh yeah.
And I don't just mean like in person. They're online, in person. There has been so many different. Like you think of a genre of games, from like the weird and wonderful to Kingdom Hearts only to RPG games only to racing games only to the Mario series only. There is an event for like nearly everything. Because the amount of people going, you know what, the speedrun community of like Sly Cooper, for example, and Ratchet and Clank, and Crash Bandicoot, and Sonic. Individually, they don't have their own like event that's dedicated to that. That's dedicated to that game series. But yet nowadays, like you've got one for the Sonic speedrun community. There's probably going to be one for Crash, Sly, and that maybe maybe a specific publisher
Hmm.
or like a certain type of game. For example, GTA Marathon, if I can mention that one,
Mm.
was a case of I always saw that event the last few years, or before I got involved anyway, when I was watching it online, that it was just it had to be GTA, which I loved anyway, but like it was GTA games only, and it was games that I couldn't ever speedrun, that I've never known a speedrun of. And then eventually they opened it up and they were like that now they accept like GTA clones or anything to do with Rockstar,
Hmm.
things like that. And I've got in a few different games that are completely unrelated. Some make sense, like Driver 3, for example. That was a GTA clone. Driver Parallel Lines, Driver 76. They were all GTA clones. But then you turn your attention to stuff like I got in. What was it that I got in this year? The Italian Job
Hmm.
in on the PS1. I got that into GTA Marathon this year because in North America the game is published by Rockstar Games, and that I won't say I got it a free pass, but like the PAL version did not get published by Rockstar, but the North America version did, and it's really bizarre. And as a result, it was like it's basically like the GTA games of old, so like GTA London from
Hmm.
1969, obviously that was released in 1997, 98, but in a 3D environment. Obviously it was based around the 1969 film. That's a different story. But my point being is that there are so many different events that allow so many different games and different types of games and things like that, that there is just an event for everybody. If you think that speedrunning isn't for you, I would highly recommend checking out Oengus and looking at the calendar and seeing what events are on. Like whether it's GDQ, whether it's Midwest Speed Fest, Fastest Furs for the furry community.
Hmm.
You have fast-paced events as well, which do a few different events.
There are hundreds at this
Um,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like, just to kind of plug my own here, like, I do an event called Macraeathon, which is a racing game marathon that we run twice a year. And that was something that evolved from years ago because of the fact of there used to be when I started, funnily enough, going back to my history for a second, when I first started speedrunning, my second stint in 2015-16, um, I started to have a look around events. And obviously, I remember seeing GDQ and was like, no, it's so expensive. I can't fly there. And I think I did try and apply for one of the GDQs, like game submission wise, I think, but didn't get in. But then again, with the amount of submissions there is, it's no
Yeah.
surprise. It's a tough event to get into in general.
Hmm.
But then in 2017, speedrun.com at the time, because obviously everything's moved to Oengus now, but speedrun.com was the place to find events. It was a bit tricky
Yeah.
because people would post events on SRC. It's a bizarre place to put events, to be honest, but point being, like the first UKSG event was on there. I found an event called A Race Against Time. I also found, I think it was Need for Speed Marathon or just Speed On. I can't remember what it's called. Need for Speed Ons or something. I can't remember. I want to call it Need for Speed Marathon. I think that's the easiest way of putting it. But yeah, like I found a load of different events through that, and my first events were doing. I think it was A Race Against Time first, which I did Porsche Challenge and Colin McRae Rally 2 for. That was my first ever speedrun marathon like showcase. My first in person was the first UKSG event, an event that I've been to for the good part of nearly 10 years now, apart from the COVID days, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just in general, I've been going to a lot of different events. I've met a lot of different people, and yeah, it's very enjoyable as a hobby. And like I said, there is definitely something for everybody. So if you think speedrun isn't for you, don't think it isn't. There is definitely
Hmm.
some community or some niche marathon. Even if it accepts everything, that's still a way to get that wacky game that no one's heard of from 2005 for the Nokia Engage, for example, could be you could enter that and it'd showcase. Because believe it or not, people like seeing the weird and wonderful.
Oh yeah.
People like seeing those wacky games that you played on, I mean, One Clip or Battlegrounds, whatever it was called. The Flash game era of the 2000s. You wouldn't think you could speedrun that, but you can. People absolutely love. I was surprised myself that a friend of mine called Howling Mad Mike. He called it Flash Dash. It was essentially a 45-minute block, and he did 12 different speedruns of Flash games. The Flash games were anywhere between 2 to 3 minutes long. Some were less than a minute. Some were a bit more fun. He had a bit of community participation. Would highly recommend it. It was from UKSG Red 2024, and it's called Flash Dash, and it's fantastic. Would recommend it. Go and watch it. You'll love it. But the amount of games that are on there that he showcased in such a small amount of time kind of also proves the point of like nothing is off limits. There are games out there that are very explicit, of course, that you would never do a speedrun of. But like Grand Theft Auto is known for being explicit. However,
Yeah.
if you ever watch a GTA speedrun, you'll know that the mini games, the stuff that is very explicit, is left out of the speedrun.
Yeah.
Like, for
And also there's a
example,
difference between rated
it's
M and rated A.
yeah,
So
exactly, yeah. So like, obviously, to take for example GTA San Andreas, for example,
Mhm.
that was anonymous for the hot coffee mod thing.
Yeah. Which doesn't you can't
Now,
even play anyway.
yeah, exactly. You can mod it in, but point being is that like you can a part of the any percent. If you do the any percent or the 100% or whatever category you want to call it for San Andreas, none of it involves that explicit nature. There
Yeah.
is parts of games like, for example, GTA Vice City, for example, that is an 18 plus. That does have a strip club
Mhm.
that you go to. And you do have to spend a certain amount of money to unlock the asset, but a lot of it is just the screen fading in and out because you're constantly going in, coming back out, and going back in again to spend like $10 like that, so that you can increase the spend faster. You don't actually sit there and watch the girl dance like you would if you were a casual gamer. It's just how it is. Like there are certain games that are very explicit, which obviously is against Twitch's terms of service,
Mhm.
and no one would probably do a speedrun of it anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but then at the same time, like I said, in terms of every other game, nothing is off limits. So if you can think of it, chances are there's probably a speedrun of it. And nowadays, it's getting to the point where it's absolutely insanely quick that a game literally released less than 4 hours ago. It might have even had a demo, but never had the full game released. No one got access to the game. The developer released it on Steam 4 hours ago. You can bet your butt someone's already started speedrunning it or routing it. And within 2 days, 3 days, there's already a speedrun of it. For example, a game that I played the demo of, really enjoyed, put it on my Steam wishlist, was called Super Candle World. Now, I played the demo, really enjoyed it. Great little game, quite fun. Would recommend picking it up as if you want to play the demo. It released on Steam, I think a week ago, maybe 5 days ago, something like that. It released on Steam. It was £3, so it's about what $5, I guess, give or take. And it's released on Steam less than a week ago. There's a guy that already did. I forget what it's called, but there's a guy who's already. I think he's called Jacoby or something. He's already done a speed run of the game, any percent. He was explaining how strats work, speed movement, everything. He's improved that record since. But what I mean is, the game is not even a week old, and it's already been done. Like even your AAA releases, like Super Mario Odyssey or the new Legend of Zelda, they get speedrun like that. There's a point where a bit like if you remember back in the days where you used to buy a game and you used to pre-order it and you were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then the day comes and you go to the midnight launch. That was the thing in the past, I'm sure. But like you go to the midnight launch, you buy the game, you get home, and immediately you're wanting to play it. Remember them days? Speedrunning has something similar now where the game is put into like limbo, quote unquote, for like especially if it's a massive game.
Yeah.
Like I think when Super Mario Odyssey came out, there was a 2 week buffer on the game. Shadow Generations was another one. It's like a week or 2 week buffer, and they're like, right, the game releases here. However, we're not going to open the speedrun leaderboards up till here, so that we have them 2 weeks. Not only for you guys to practice, you can do whatever, practice as much as you want.
Mhm.
However, we need to find a start and an end point because obviously and then once they've established that, they go, right, the leaderboards are now open, and everybody just bombards it. At that point, the rules are set in place and people do it. It's sort of the speedrun equivalent of a midnight launch for a game in a pre-order. And it works really, really well. It makes the game very competitive straight from the get-go, which is
Mhm.
impressive. But what I'm saying is, nothing is off limits. Games get speedrun like that these days. It's mad. It is just absolutely mad. But again, it's also another thing that makes, in my opinion, it makes speedrunning really good and really enjoyable as a whole.
Yeah. Yep. Anyone can speedrun anything. Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
I know because you're talking about like the age of people. I know people in like their mid 40s that are still doing it very well. Like, yeah, as long as you're enjoying it and are comfortable with it, you can do whatever. And then yeah, like there are so many games to choose from, and no matter the popularity of it, I don't know. Any game is a speed game if you make it one. So you
Yeah,
can find what you
essentially,
need.
yeah.
Yep. And then yeah, events especially. I've really seen them take off. Um yeah, GDQ is now part of like every PAX event, every TwitchCon. Now it's doing Gamescom, their first European, or I think just straight up like out of the United States kind of event of any capacity.
Yeah, I
That's in
think so.
person. And then yeah, like I'm in the States, unfortunately. But like you look at Europe, they have a lot of stuff going on there. There's events all over the world. RT in Japan's been going strong for a long time. I think there's some stuff in South America now. Just
Yeah,
worldwide.
there's so many.
Oh yeah.
I just remember the time, like I said, when if I go back 10 years ago when UKSG was starting out in 2017, well, I'll tell it's 9 years ago, but if I go back to when I was still doing events, or I started doing events, at the time there was I think two, maybe three events that were popular. There was GDQ was the main one that everybody knew.
Mm-hmm.
There was ESA in Europe and I think RTA in Japan.
Yep.
Those were the only three I knew of.
Yeah, that
I
was the
didn't
big
know
three
of
from like
anything else.
a decade ago.
But then, like, fast forward 10 years down the line, them three are still going strong. But then, like, the UK has got, I'd say, maybe 4 or 5 events on site.
And that's just the
Their numbers
UK.
have dwindled, but that's just like the UK. Yeah,
That's
exactly. Like
crazy.
France has got, I think, like 2 or 3.
Oh,
Spain's
speed-ons.
got one.
Oh my
Speed-ons,
god.
yeah, is like one of
Speed-ons
the most
is great.
popular
That's
ones in
going on right
Europe.
now. They have a whole
It's
arena. It's
insanely good.
so cool.
But it's like every other country, like Italy, which, funnily enough, Giano Diortamo, I think is how you pronounce it. But like Italy's got its own speedrun event that's been quite popular over the last few years. Poland has got GSPS. The Czechoslovakia marathon is a thing. Bulgaria, thanks to Sylvan Cage or Sliven Cage, who's a friend of mine that I met through Need for Speed. He's running something called Bulgarian Speedrunning Marathon. So Bulgaria's got its first event. There is the Norway Speedrunners Gathering. There is Finruns in Finland. Um, BSG, Benelux Speedrunner Gathering, which covers the Netherlands. Covers three actually. It covers Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands all together, hence the reason Benelux.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if Portugal's got one, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. You've obviously got like I think there's one in Hungary or somewhere around East Europe. There's one there. You've got obviously in Japan, RTA, of course,
Yep.
along with the other ones that it runs as well. Australia has ASM,
Yep.
Australian Speedrunning Marathon. I think there may be one more that I'm missing. I can't remember.
Oh, you're probably
But
missing like
this,
50.
I'm probably missing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the US has got GDQ, but it also has smaller events as well, like Midwest Speed Fest, for
Mhm.
example.
Yeah, there's a ton.
I think Fastest Furs may be on site now, but
It's
I do
on
remember that
site.
being an online event.
Yeah, they're part of a convention. I don't know. I'm not part of that community, so I'm not going to speak for them. But yeah, I know it's on site because I have friends that have gone to it.
I know it's like we're probably not far off at this point where, like I said, I don't think Portugal's got one, but we're probably not far off Portugal getting one in
Yeah.
Europe. Or as far as going, this is going to sound really bizarre, but I would not be surprised if this happens, where like Iceland gets one, or Greenland, that and far north of the blooming
Iceland. That would be
Earth,
fun.
or Antarctica or something gets one. I just wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
I can just see it now. Like some guys doing a speed run of something. I couldn't say what game, but like he's doing a speed run, and it's like, so where are you broadcasting from? And he's like, oh, I'm broadcasting from the ice center up in Antarctica near the North Pole. It's like, what the heck? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like in a couple of years' time that it, because the thing is speedrunning is very popular globally. It is extremely popular now.
Hmm.
And I would not be surprised if there was an event held in these countries that we would never think to have an event in. It'd just be chaos, absolute chaos.
Yeah, at this point, I can point to some sort of speedrun event in most states. Um, Not all of them. Some of them are small, but like hearing that they have one in like almost every European country at this point, that's so cool.
I think there's a tick list going on for Europe.
Yeah.
They're like UK, Czech, France, Czech, Spain, yep, Italy, yep, Poland, yep. It's like, oh, we need that. It's like, oh, look, Greece hasn't got one. That'll be arranged. That'll be next year. There'll be this. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was one. But at the same time, there is a bit of a downside with this. We've talked about like events, popular, becoming more popular, and a lot of events everywhere.
Mhm.
There is a problem though,
Mhm.
which is this is the other side of the coin, the flip side of the coin, which is the plus side is that there is an event like near enough anyway. You could probably fly to one or get to one. I wouldn't say with relative ease, but like you could
Yeah.
probably get to one if you're in certain parts of the
And there's
world.
always online, so you can literally just no matter what always be able to submit to something.
Yeah, I think online is probably like the big plus. There isn't really a downside apart from
Yeah.
maybe your internet connection, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But like the downside of the event side of it is that there is that many events now that it is really difficult to put your time into an event. Like years ago, it used to be really easy with what you wanted to allocate your time to,
Mhm.
and then just all of a sudden, because the map of events and the amount of events, there is now like there's some weekends where I know I'm not the first to say this, but like there are several weekends now where three, four, maybe even five events are all running at the same time, and it's like like I remember specifically, and this isn't a joke. I think it was during 2022. I had the bizarre circumstance where I had three events in 3 days. I had one on Friday, one Saturday, one Sunday. It was nuts. At the time, I mean, I was with my ex partner at the time, but like, I had I spent like I think I was doing a run on the Friday of Driver, Saturday was Hot Wheels, and Sunday was Colin McRae Rally or something. It was really bizarre. But like it was three different events, all with different like OBS setups and captures and things, and I'm like, oh my god. I've never done it ever since then. But there is there is a negative, which is it's great that there's so many events. The negative is that you really have to now pick and choose, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't want to do,
Mm.
which is a bit
Yeah, I get it.
unfortunate. But again, it's come as part of the popularity side of things, so
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I do think the positives outweigh the negatives though, just because it gives more people a chance to showcase their talent,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
exactly,
always good. And obviously all the events are successful in their own ways. So
yeah,
that helps
yeah,
a lot,
exactly.
especially
It's
when
always
charity's
a always a
involved.
plus side.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty nice. Well, I guess speaking on this topic, since we've been talking about it a while,
Mm.
your personal history with marathons. I know we've talked a little bit about it, but you have like highlights or like you can even go over your full what you've done as part of either online or in person stuff.
Again, just like my speedrun history, that would take us definitely into the 3 hour mark with this podcast. I'll tell you now. But yeah, to keep it brief, so my first marathon appearance was a race against time two, I think it was, or three, back in October or November 2017. And I was doing Porsche Challenge and Cormac Rally 2. Then I had my first in-person event in December 2017 where UKSG, or United Kingdom Speedrunner Gathering, held its first in-person event, which was very worrying for me. I got very nervous very quickly because I had no idea what to say. But yeah, they both went really, really well. I participated in a lot of events since then. As I said, I've done events for The big ones, well, okay, not quite the big ones. One of the big ones, which was ESA for a couple of years. I participated in Midwest Speed Fest during on the online sections, of course.
Mhm.
Um, I've done one event for Fastest Furs at one stage. I've done one for I think it's called Fastest Place on Earth, which is a Disney marathon.
Oh.
Um, I did a couple of, I've done, I think two appearances in Need for Speed marathons, probably five in GTA Marathon, maybe six at this point.
Hmm.
Um, Five of them, I think, were in online events. The other one was in an in person, which was this year my first in person chance. What else have I done? Yeah, I mean the list is quite a big one. If I go to my Oengus page real quick, a lot of UKSG events. I've done No Glitches Allowed, Preventathon,
Yeah.
NSG, Insta Speedathon, Warwick Speedrunning, or WASD as it's known in the UK, BSG, Fastathon, Breaking the Habit, obviously my own, McRaeathon, I've done that as well. I've done Am with Their Speed, Segathon, again, just scrolling down the list. There's events such as Gamers Against Cancer, For the Kids, I think was one, Marathon Alliance, Wild West Marathon, Themathon, Soaring Speed Fest. I think I said Breaking the Habit already. Shots Fired, Pixels for People, Hidden Gem Rally, Complete-a-thon, Running for Reels, Pixel Perfect Marathon, the Driver Marathon, which is also my own creation. Indython, back when they were still running at the time. Film runs. I've done a Ridge Racer marathon, a mediocre speedrun marathon. It's actually called like mediocres, believe it or not. There was one called Eggathon, which was to do with eggs and stuff and games involving eggs. License-a-thon, which I've not gone back to for a couple of years, but again, just not at the time. Um, Participated in Speed Gaming, which is quite a popular
Oh yeah.
speedrunner section of channels as well. They held a marathon a few years back. Participated in that. There's Obscurathon as well. GSPS I've mentioned back in Poland. I did submit for really really longathon, but didn't get in that. Events called Runs to the Rescue, UKSM, Horror, Bull Games. What else did I submit? For Love of Gaming was another. Uh, I'm trying to think what else there was. I'm just having a quick scroll and having a look at the same time. There was a few events that were to do with I think it was like for funding for relief. I don't know, like when if there was a hurricane in the States, and I
Yeah.
forget, there was a few events like that that I participated in. Midwest Speed Fest, of course, I mentioned.
Mhm.
What else? Oh, one that I've not mentioned, which is very important, is one that I would say gave me a big break, but one that I met a lot of people through, which was called Thunderthon. They shut down 4 or 5 years ago, and it was run by a guy called Chad, I think it was, or Chad Thornton, I think is his name. And he had a group of people, a team of people, and there was a guy called Spence, or Spence Speedruns, I think he's known as now, and Tainted Tally, or Tally as she's known. And I got to know a couple of people from that group. So when Thunderthon said, we're not doing this anymore and we're not participating, we're not, you know, we're not going to be uh, doing anything whatsoever, and they shut everything down, I was a bit upset about that, to be honest with you. I got quite upset about that. But their channel is still up, and yeah, I got chatting to a couple of the guys, and turns out that this Spence, who I end up speaking to quite a bit, he ended up being from the same part of town as I was.
Mm.
So I come from Manchester in the United Kingdom, which is about the middle part of England, and essentially he also came from the same point. So when the chance came to meet up for the first time, we got to meet up with one another. I met up with Tainted Tally at an ESA event. I never met Chad or Cosmic or any of the other team for behind Thunderthon, but it was nice that during the COVID years, these guys were a really great event. I think the event could have really took off had it kept going. It was a shame it did stop and shut down. But personally, I would have loved to have seen, the event carry on year in, year out. They were raising money for worldwide veterinary services as well. So I was very much a fan of the cause as well. For raising money for that charity, of course. But like in terms of like atmosphere and things, it was very enjoyable. As an online event, I've never really. I think with online events, it's hard to build an atmosphere. It's very difficult to build the same atmosphere and everything that you can build as an on-site event. But I think Thunderthon managed to do it, not just through its styling, but like its community, its team of people. They were very caring, very compassionate. I'm not saying that anyone
Mm-hmm.
that I've been with hasn't been like that. But I just got I was more attached to that group than I was with any other group that I participated with, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I would have loved to have seen it carry on. Personally speaking, would have absolutely loved to have seen it carry on. It's just a shame it never did, and I do miss it. But I have met like a couple of people from that event who I still consider friends. I still see from time to time. And like I said, without the events that I participated in, I don't think I would have met like any of my friends. Not just from like the GTA community, for example, but just in general, like the gaming community. Speedrunning has definitely opened a lot of different doors. It's definitely expanded my social circles. Um, and yeah, it's been great. But yeah, my history has been very mixed. My Oengus page doesn't even tell half the story because there was a lot of events that weren't on Oengus. They were on. I participated in events on Speedrun.com, so that's probably been lost to time because of the revamps that SRC has had.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish that I had Owenga straight from the start so I could have a bit more of a better history. But from the ones that I do remember, like I said, a race against time, UKSG, Winter 2017, the first event UKSG ever had. Midwest Speed First. There was a few other ones as well, like that I can't really remember off the top of my head, but there was a couple of events that I did do in 2018, 2019, and then obviously moved from my part-time job to a full-time job and was working as for a full-time job and ended up settling down a bit. So weekend events became a norm. And obviously during COVID, well, it was one less thing to it was one less thing to worry about when, it was another thing to add to the list of things to distract you from what was going on outside
Mm-hmm.
with COVID, of course.
Yeah.
So I think it helped a lot during the lockdown phase, at the time of COVID. So I'm very thankful for that, to be honest.
Well, um, obviously you listed many events, so that should prove the point that there's a lot of them, and that still doesn't even scratch the surface. So it's a wild.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a wild west,
Oh yeah,
very much a wild west.
there's probably 5 events going on at any given time of the year, and you can submit to them, and they will maybe take you. And if one doesn't, maybe another one will. there's,
Exactly.
there's
Yeah,
so many of them.
it is very much a case of the one thing that I think we can both agree on is that if you submit to an event and get rejected as a first time runner, um, please do not feel deflated. It
Mm,
it will come with it. It will happen. Not saying you'll get rejected on the first try. What I'm saying is like rejection from events does happen.
yeah.
It is sometimes it can be difficult to take. I understand that it feels like it'll put you down. It would if it was me. But at the same time, a lot of events now, I think the landscape for events has changed. I think years ago, a lot of events weren't keen on like giving people they never heard of a chance. to participate. I think it was like unless they knew you from somewhere
Hmm.
or they knew your presence in a certain community, for example, you were more likely to be accepted. It was more of a, I wouldn't call it a popularity contest. I don't think I ever would see it like that. More of a case of, oh, okay, this guy's got the record in this game, sort of thing. Whereas, um, nowadays a lot of events are like, if you're a new runner, we'll accept you. Like 9 times out of 10, you probably would get accepted because you've never submitted for that event before. I can attest to that as someone that's done events for nearly 10 years or nearly longer, actually. Um, yeah, nearly as long as 10 years. I'm still finding new events and I'm still submitting for them, and some of them are, you know, really nice about it, and they'll say, oh, congratulations, you've been accepted. A lot of events have their own Discord servers now, which makes it easy to keep track of what you've submitted for. Oengus has a great feature to show what you have submitted for, what you've been accepted with, that sort of thing. And obviously, Discord works like it should. Um, but yeah, no, it's just it is very much a case of because of the fact you've got Oengus, you've got Discord. Gone are the days where you need something like Skype to keep in contact with somebody. That's no longer a thing now. Gone are the days of dial-up internet connection, so it won't take you 5 million years to upload a run anymore. And a lot of events are very more professional, I'd find. Compared to 10 years ago, GDQ was known to be quite professional. It has its YouTube channel. I think that's kind of always just stuck. But now a lot of events are like, when they start up, it's like, right, we need to hit the ground running. We need to be different, but we also need to have a good graphical art style. We need to be user friendly for the first time runners. Um, we need to make sure that we have good tech behind us, a good hosting team, and to ensure like the runner's guide is up to date. But we also want to make sure that we are a healthy community. Drive the toxicity out. Don't keep it in and everything. It's a bit tricky with what you need, but like it sounds like a lot. I'm saying that like you need a lot of stuff to start an event up. Which is if you were to start your own event up, check it doesn't exist first. But if you do, try not to keep it like I'd say try and stand out and be unique. Sometimes it can help to take the notice of real life stuff. So, for example, an event that ran last year was called World Rally Marathon, and its logo was copying the WRC logo, but instead of it being a C at the end, it was an M, and it looked very distinct. It stood out. They had a completely different like graphic style compared to what I was thinking it would have. But yeah, like it just you do need time to prepare this. If you do decide to create your own marathon or event, um, would definitely say it can take a good few months of planning. Do not try and think you can do it in 2 weeks. It ain't gonna happen. Don't be the person that falls into that trap. I know a few people have tried to do that, and it does show. You don't have to have 10 out of 10 graphics either. I've said like graphics do matter, but obviously, if you need help, ask for it. If you need more people to do stuff, ask for it. Don't feel bad about postponing events because you haven't got enough people to help out, or if you need to split the days up because you can't do a 12-hour marathon. Like, I remember the first Macraeathon I did, I was doing hosting and tech for the entire thing. And that was 2 days straight, and I was doing it for like 10 or 11 hours. It was nuts. Yeah, it's nowadays it's like I've got a small little team behind me. Like someone has took over to do the graphics. There is someone who's doing the tech. There's someone that's doing transitions and things like that. I'm doing feedback forms and things behind the scenes, so I'm doing my own thing. But yeah, definitely, you just have to be organized. I'd say with events more than anything else. So yeah, that's what I can say on that matter.
Yeah. I did do my own like weekend thing that I set up in like 2 weeks. It worked, but it wasn't. I wasn't trying to make it like high quality or anything. It was just a let me try this kind of a deal. So I do
Yeah,
think
it's a
anyone
start.
can do it, but yeah, if you want to do it good, it takes a little more effort, and you'll probably need help. But
Exactly, and people are willing to help. It's just you
mhm,
just need to ask. That's literally it. Just put out a post on Discord or message a few people that you know, and speak to them either through Blue Sky or through the SRC forums, even if you
mhm.
so desire. You know, all their Twitch channels. Have a conversation. There's a lot of different ways you can communicate with people these days.
Oh
Gone are the days of a letter or an email. You can still
yeah,
email people, but
yeah,
like, yeah, there are a lot of different ways to get in contact with people. It's a lot easier now to contact someone than ever before. I know that sounds like a bad thing, but for a speedrun event, that's really good because it means that contact can be made easier than you think.
yeah.
So,
Gone are the days of carrier pigeons.
yeah, exactly.
Thank God us speedrunners don't have to use those anymore. Anyway.
Oh God, yeah. It's like I got a speedrun time in this game takes 2 weeks to arrive
Yeah.
because
I
the
mean,
carrier pigeon got diverted by the wind.
yeah. That's how it feels, like the stories I've heard from like old SDA having to like mail in tapes kind of a thing, because that was just the only
Yeah,
way
it's
to submit your runs.
it's uh it's definitely something. I do remember. I do have like a funny story from events we mentioned before. Like, have I got any highlights from events? So obviously, a highlight for me would probably be I've got maybe two or three that I can think of. So, first highlight, I think this is obvious, is my first ever speedrun event I did, which was a
Hmm.
race against time. That was my first ever event, like marathon whatsoever. That was definitely a highlight because I was so nervous, and I've come a long way since then. But like, I was so nervous, didn't know what to talk about, was a bit and ahhing about it, and it shows when I watch the video back. I'm like, wow, was that me? Damn.
Hmm.
Okay then. One of my the next highlight, which will become very apparent as to why, is it is Elmo from UKSG Red 2024. Um, Basically, I submitted Elmo's letter adventure for the PS1, and I did a run of it. The game got in, it was on the schedule, and I was like, this is not gonna go down that well. People won't care. No one's gonna watch this. And it ended up being one of the funniest runs I've ever done
Hmm.
because 2 minutes before I was due to go on stage, one of the guys at the event by the name of Skemmy, I hope he doesn't mind me saying who he is, but Skemmy, who goes to UKSG, he helps deal with like scheduling and things like that. He turns out he could do a really good Elmo voice, and I mean really good. And I dragged him in and put him on co-commentary to talk like Elmo. I didn't force him to. I just said, is there any chance you can do that for like 15 minutes? Not constantly, you know. I'll
Yeah.
talk about stuff. And I've never laughed so hard. It's one of the best runs I've ever done, like funny wise, you know, for events. And I would highly recommend watching it. I can pass you through a link, GTAs, if you want, and then you can share it about. But yeah, I would highly recommend looking it up. It's UKSG Red 2024 or 24. Elmo's Letter Adventure with me, with Viper, and yeah, you'll see exactly why it was so funny for me. But I had a lot of fun with that one. That's my second one. The third one, my final highlight, would probably be. I'd say so. For me, it's at a time when that I enjoyed a lot, and it was when I did a speed run of. I can't remember the name of it. I did a speed run of Reservoir Dogs
Hmm.
at ESA Winter. I think it was 23. I want to say 22 or 23. I'd have to check. But basically, I did a speedrun of it, and I dressed up in the black and white suit, like the guys do in the film. If you've ever seen it, they dress up in black suits with white tops and stuff, white shirts. Now in the film, bad stuff happens. I won't explain that, otherwise we'll be here even longer. But basically, I was dressed up like it, and I had my co-commentator RoboSparkle. He did the same. I told him what I was doing like in advance, so he knew that he had to bring a suit with him. So I brought my suit, he brought his, and a bunch of other guys turned up in suits as well. Not everybody did, but like I had like a couple of people sat behind me, and I named everybody as the characters from the film. I wanted to have enough people to do like he's Mr. Pink, he's Mr. Brown, he's Mr. Orange, whatever, from the films because that's how they had nicknames. And there was one specific part where I talk about the plot and that like there's a rat, and I point to the guy. I mention so at the start of the run I was allocating like who was who from the film, and there's a betrayal in the film, and I mentioned that there's a guy, the guy who is the rat, who's the insider. Um, he's sat behind me somewhere, so he gets up and runs off, and what ends up happening is the guy gets up, one of my other mates, who was also one of the other characters, I was like, get him, get him. So he runs to the back of the room. It's all on camera. You can see it on camera. You see him run to the back of the room. And then this other guy, who's also part of the crew, gets up, walks to him, fake punches him. So it looks like he hit. So unbeknownst to me, I have no idea that this is going on, by the way. I didn't even look at the camera. So I'm like playing the game, explaining what's going on. And then when I watched it back, I was like, someone's like, did you not see what happened behind you? I was like, no, I have no idea. So the guy runs off, he comes back, and as he's coming back, this other guy gets up and he whacks him. Obviously, he doesn't actually hit him. There's no real violence. I must stress that. But he hits him with a fist, and the guy who gets hit drops to the floor and makes it look so realistic. You think it was film acting. Like it's so good. Like it really is. Like he hits him, he drops the moment he gets hit. It literally looks like he actually hit him. And I spoke to the guy afterwards when he was telling me all this, and the guy did drama school, so he knew that if he took a punch, he knew how to drop to the floor. I had no idea about this till all this had happened.
Oh my god.
And it was definitely a highlight. And it still is. It's one of the great runs I've done. From events at least. I could probably just briefly mention as well. So like their event highlights. I have two, maybe three highlights from my personal speedrun stuff overall.
Okay.
One of them was I did a run of Colin McRae Rally 2. It's not nearly the fastest now, but at the time I did a run of Colin McRae Rally 2 back in, I think it was December 2018, I want to say. I think, yeah, so it was December 2018. So in mid to late 2018, there was a guy called Lucky who came into the Colin McRae Rally Discord, started picking up Colin McRae Rally 2. Me and him had a bit of a rivalry. It was friendly, but me and him had a bit of a rivalry. And me and him ended up fighting for the record for the Novice Championship. And as a result, he ended up doing this time specifically, like I did this 127.43, the one I mentioned before, the record that beat the other record by like 8 minutes. I lowered that to 126.58, and then Lucky came along. He didn't do it straight away, like he built it up, but he beat me by like 7 seconds. So when he beat me on Christmas Eve. No, Christmas Day, he beat me. And I'm not kidding, that put like a really big downer on my Christmas Day. So I'd had Christmas dinner, I'd gone upstairs, I was in my bedroom, and I was like, oh, look, he's live, he's doing Colin McRae Rally 2. I see him streaming, I'm looking at what he's doing, I just caught like the last like 20 minutes. So he's just come, I think he's done like, he's into Italy at this point. I was like, oh my god, I don't know if he's going to beat me. His pace looks really good though. Anyway, he beat me by 7 seconds. I was well rejected. I'd gone. I was so depressed about it, and I was like, I need to beat him back again. The competitive nature of
Mhm.
speedrunning. So I ended up coming back onto the game. I think from Boxing Day till like the 28th, I made it a mission that
Mhm.
everywhere that I was weak, I improved and was much stronger than he was. So I put like 2 days worth of practice in. I was practicing for like 4 or 5 hours, maybe a little bit longer, but like I practiced for a good few hours on and off, and was real like grinding stages out and stuff like that. And I gone through the whole game. And I was like, right, I'm ready. So then I think it was on the 28th of December, 3 days later, I went live, I started a run, and I destroyed him. I did a 125.05. Wasn't Bear in mind at the time there was no big glitches that were found to gain that time. That was literally through driving. I beat my PB by nearly 2 minutes just through much better driving. It was crazy. Um, and I've still seen that as, even though it is not my fastest ever time for that game, it is by far one of my strongest that I've ever done. I put so much effort into that, is what I mean.
Mhm.
So there was that. There was also my Colin McRae Rally 1 novice record for the PlayStation. The PlayStation record to be exact, because there is a PC version which is way quicker, and PS1 we split them both up. But yeah, the PS1 record, I really would not let that go. I got beat by like 2 seconds one night. I came home from work, saw my time been beaten by 2 seconds, then spent the next 2 hours getting a run going. I got a run. I beat the record back. I took the record back by about 15 seconds. I didn't think I had that much time saved, but I did. Um, so yeah, that was definitely a highlight. And the last highlight, which is definitely one for me, is unsurprisingly, I've mentioned it already. Driver, the first Driver game, finally taking the record from Iceman, the guy that I challenged all them years ago and said I can do better than this. Um, I finally managed to take the record off him, and I honestly, victory never tasted so sweet. I think it was like 8 seconds faster, but I celebrated it as if I just won the World Cup. I was screaming, I was jumping up and down. I think I even frigging cried because I was that happy with it. I have beat the record since then a couple of times, but like, still, I'm still waiting for him to come back. To be honest, because I know he can go quicker. But like, it's a record that I hold at the minute. I'm pretty proud of the fact that I hold that record for that game. But yeah, I see it as when I beat him the first time, not the times where I've improved since, but like when I beat him the first time, yeah, it's it was certainly something. I don't think I can do any better than that. I don't think I popped off as hard as I did then. But yeah, just definitely some fun highlights throughout the years for sure.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, you've kind of like anything I was going to ask, you kind of answered on your own volition, whether you knew you were going to or not.
You're welcome, I guess.
Yeah, you're doing my job for me, which, I can't be
Oh,
mad at
good.
that. Makes my life easy. I'm really trying to think. I mean, the only thing I could think of to ask then is if you just want to go into more detail about any like game specific stuff or anything, because I feel like all the marathon stuff and overall history was covered, and then you obviously mentioned important highlights because we can't talk about everything. So
No, that's fine. So do you mean like speed tech, things like that?
yeah, like
Learning,
we've
what's that
talked
like?
about the games, but like not like obviously you think of a racing game, you think oh just drive fast, but some games have a little more to it than just that.
Yeah, I mean, so racing games are about as straightforward as they get
Hmm.
for the most part. So they are literally just a case of drive fast, go as quick as possible. Make sure that you're winning the race and you're winning the championship or event, whatever it is that you do. Speed strats are a bit of an interesting one though, because some games have different speed strats. For example, in Colin McRae Rally 2, again, I'll refer to this one again, but
Mhm.
like Colin McRae Rally 2, there are a lot of places in the game where you can just cut corners and the game will not respawn you. So that's free time save. You're not
Mhm.
driving all around the stage, you just drive over the grass, you cut all that out, saves like 3 seconds. But it all adds up. There are times where we deliberately flip the car in certain areas to respawn further ahead, or like you're able to somehow drive up a hill and go out of bounds like that, and you can beat a level or a stage that would take you like 2.5, 3 minutes. You can do it in a minute and a half or less. There's a lot of out of bounds stuff that you can experience. I mean, Need for Speed Most Wanted, for example, has a bug on one specific version. They have actually applied it now, so you can do it on version 1.3. But when Need for Speed Most Wanted was released, there was version 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. 1.2 was the outlier because 1.2 had a bug on the PC version where if you use the mouse cursor to select the top right corner of the continue box when you beat a blacklist member, you was able to skip the following blacklist member. So
Mhm.
as a result, you're able to do blacklist member 15, which is Sonny. As soon as you beat him, you click the bottom right, the top right corner, I think it is, and you are able to skip Taz and jump straight to blacklist member number 13, which is Vic.
Mhm.
And they do that to get to Razor quicker. But that doesn't mean that you don't have it all to do. You've got race wins that you need to do for the blacklist members to challenge them still. But also the main thing that does it for Most Wanted, the way that the game works, is that there are milestones you have to get, and there is a certain amount of bounty you need to hit. So because you skipped over Taz and not done blacklist member number 14, you have to get more bounty and do extra do extra milestones to rack up bounty to match Vic, because you'll be like, say for example, I think like Sunny is 10,000 bounty. Uh, yeah, Sunny is 10,000. Taz is 50,000, I think, and then Vic is 100,000. So because you skip the 50,000, you have to go from 10,000 bounty to 100,000 bounty. If that makes sense, you have to make the difference up because you skipped over Taz. Whereas a
Mhm.
normal player would do Sunny, Taz, Vic. They'd do it in stages. There is a no major glitches category, which means that you do have to do Sunny, Taz, Vic, Izzy, and so on, all the way to Razor for that game. But that's just like one of a few tricks. There's a lot of RNG involved with Need for Speed Most Wanted because the idea is that you might want to get you have to make a pursuit last 8 minutes, but then you've also got to do 8 spike strips in 8 minutes, which usually involves hoping that the game will spawn roadblocks because you've caused enough carnage, and that you're able to actually get the roadblocks and everything like that. You also take advantage of like Jumpman parts and things like that to make things faster. Just to kind of jump from that game though onto another Need for Speed game. Um, in Need for Speed Underground 2, there are respawn points where if you hit walls or respawn at specific points whilst touching the wall, you're able to actually warp through and be reset onto an inner road or something. And that allows you to do glitched lap times by driving around like an inner loop on like some of them, or driving like respawning halfway through a sprint race, and you can cut all this bit out here and just go straight to the end. You know, go like out of bounds and things like that. We still get out of bounds like you get on an adventure game. There are some like frame perfect glitches that you have to do, or just you have to do them very well timed. But yeah, like overall, um, yeah, there isn't too much really. I can't really mention too much speed tech. Some of them are fairly straightforward.
Mhm.
A lot of games, racing game wise, anyway, do involve, and I think it's because of maybe the progression system. Some of the games that you can play, racing game wise, like Forza Horizon, for example, or Race Driver Grid, they have a system in place where if you win races at a much harder difficulty, you get more money or more bounty or whatever, more points. And as a result, you're able to progress through the game much faster than if you were to do the game on easy difficulty. It's like, for example, in Colin McRae Dirt 2, that has a progression skip where in there's a category called X Games Europe or Road to X Games Europe. And what we do in that is we retire from one race but do another. But then there is something called a showdown. It could be anything. It could be timed. It could be so like a one-on-one. It could be a time trial. It could be anything, and you can go up against anybody at any time. But in X Games Europe, it seems like it's scripted to always go off at a certain point. So what we do is we do one of the vehicles that we have, excuse me, one of the vehicles that we have to buy is the Pontiac Solstice, which we buy because we get enough money. And when we do the time showdown against Ken Block, we have to put the game into. So before you start a game, before you start a race, you can choose the difficulty. And most races, you can play the entire run with the easiest difficulty. However, if you play the timed showdown on the hardest difficulty, you don't get paid for showdowns. You only get XP, and the XP is what we need. So the XP doesn't change for races normally. It just increases the payload. The harder you go, the more money you get. But in a showdown, it's how much XP you come out with, and XP is the key thing to unlocking the X games to which we have to do it, if that makes sense. So as a result of, we start with nothing. We start with the Subaru Impreza that we have, and we do a couple of races, retire from one of them. Then we get to this time showdown. Now, at this point, we buy the Pontiac Solstice because we've got enough money. We then put the game into vehicle setup is turned on and put it on hardcore difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty there is. What we'll then do is we will go in game to that showdown. We'll be able to change the car setup to shortest gearbox possible and the highest downforce. And what this will allow us to do is it allow us to once we start the showdown, we have to do a lap of the circuit faster than what Ken Block has set his time to. It's not easy to beat, but if you can do it, it's really rewarding and it makes the run so fast. But what we do before that is we do an achievement in the game which is called Spin Daddy, which is the idea is you have to spin the car over and over and over. Do a donut basically, just do donuts. And by getting to Spin Daddy 5, you rack up, I think it's because each time you do one of the achievements, you get like 100 XP, 200, 500, or something like that. By the time you do Spin Daddy 5, you've racked up, I think it's 5,000 XP when you do Spin Daddy 5, 2,500 before that, 1,000 before that, 500 before that, and 200 before that. So you rack up like, what? I don't know, 8,000, 9,000 XP, and you level up like a lot quicker. You still got races to do, that sort of thing. We still have to retire from races and hope that the AI doesn't beat us. But then once you get to level 8, you unlock the X Games, and then time is when you beat X Games Europe, sorry. Time is when you beat X Games Europe. We do buy a vehicle. Well, we can choose to buy a vehicle if we wish to do so, but the run is like less than 30 minutes. Optimally, you can get it as like 27 minutes, 28 minutes. I think the record's like 26 even, or less than that. But like you can get the time under 30 minutes if you can drive well enough. So you have to do practice and so on and so on. But like there is strats to retiring deliberately. So in rally games, certain rally games, for example, that I've done, it's quicker to retire from races than to actually do them, or wreck your vehicle because by doing so, you can build a buffer. So, take for example, in Colin McRae Rally 3, there are 6 rallies that you have to do, or you don't have to do, you can do 4. But the game gives you 6 rallies, but in 4 of them, you win the rally as that is. The other two you retire from, and you're still able to win the championship, but that relies on AI RNG. However, there are certain games where if you deliberately retire at this rally, there's no way that the AI can win. So you do that to speed the game up, if that makes sense. Some categories don't allow, some categories require you to win the championship. Other categories just require you to finish the championship overall, even if it's in like third place, you can still beat the run. Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies and speed tech and things. Most of the time, the games are straightforward. There's no real fancy speed tech. They are literally just go fast and be as quick as possible. Sometimes it depends on the AI being in your way or not being in your way. But yeah, it's very enjoyable. It's very fun. But yeah, it just depends on the game really. Most of the time, it's just go as quick as possible, and that's about it. So
Got it. So each game has some uniqueness to it, whether it's just the basic mechanics, but some of them have some stuff that go beyond just mastering the driving mechanic of the game
yeah,
that they built.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, because you know, seeing how many there are, you just assume it gets kind of the same old most of the time. But it sounds like at least there's some uniqueness to each game.
Yeah, most of it is. I mean, like Mario Kart, for example. If I can give that as an example, I've never done a speedrun of it, but from what I can tell, the speedrun stuff, there is like a bit of a look down, a look. Sorry, not look down. A look into it.
Oh wait.
And to break the game down, it's mad. Like there is invisible checkpoint barriers that you can cross, and
Mm-hmm.
certain boost strats and things like that.
Yeah,
It's
I love
crazy.
Mario Kart speedruns.
It's very fast, very fanatic. I do find, to be honest, one of my interesting niches that I don't go looking for it, but if it's on, it's very interesting to watch. Are like the Wii series, so Wii Sports, Wii
Mm,
Play,
yeah.
Wii Party, I think is one. Wii Music. Them games for me are really interesting to watch because obviously you're not sat there with a controller. You're actually using a Wii remote. You're actually having to like guide your actual wrist or whichever. I do find them quite interesting to watch. Yeah, very fun, very cool.
Yeah. I've watched some Wii golf in my day.
Yeah, we golf's well, we sports golf. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
an interesting one, especially when it's like disconnecting the remote and then reconnecting it. It's like whatever will they think of next. There's interesting strats as well. Like racing games never get that crazy where you get to a point like you wouldn't get something such as in WarioWare Smooth Moves, for example, for the Wii. There is a yoga thing that you have to do. I think it is. Is it yoga? No, it's either. Oh, sorry, no. It's not in WarioWare. Forget it. It's in. I think Wii Fit. It's one of
Mm.
the games where it's called like Zen, and it's a candle, and the idea is you're supposed to sit on the Wii balance board,
Ah.
and watch the candle. And the idea is the balance board. You're supposed to sit there, and you're supposed to sit on it like flat. And the idea is the game shows this like this flame, and obviously it matches your balance.
Hmm.
And the idea is like you hear all these spooky noises and things like that, and the idea is that you're supposed to just sit there. But for me, it deliberately makes you shake. The
Mm.
idea is to not, you know, be too scared. It scares me because it's just darkness and a flame in the middle. But what speedrunners do is they use a chair and they just sit the chair on it, and the chair just it just stays flat like that, doesn't even move. And it's like, talk about the most busted mechanic you've ever seen in a speedrun. There's nothing like that in racing games. I
Yeah.
would love for something like that to be a thing, but no, there's nothing like that.
Fair
It is
enough.
good. It's funny. If you've never seen it, look it up. It's so good.
Yeah, I
It's
haven't
such a
heard of
funny
that
strat.
one.
Yeah, they literally just get a chair and sit on it on the balance board, and it just works. I don't have a clue how the hell they do it. I think they deliberately miscalibrate the Wii balance board when they're setting it up because obviously it measures your weight.
Yeah.
So it's like, there you go. That is now my weight. There you go. It triggers it. It's quite good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I've not thought to speedrun Wii Fit, but I mean, I did say you can speedrun anything, and every
Yeah,
day that's just
even
proven more and
the
more true.
what is it? Ring Fit Adventure. Somebody's done a
Hmm.
speedrun of Ring Fit Adventure,
Oh yeah.
and I forget what the category is, but it was something like 16 hours long, and I'm like,
Oh
that's a
okay.
lot of exercise. My God. Because obviously, Ring Fit Adventure. It's very physical.
Hmm.
That's the idea. It's basically Wii Fit, but for the Switch. You know, it's like you're supposed to do all these things, and I've no doubt. Yeah, that probably does keep people fit. But yeah, just seeing that as a speedrun is like wow. Okay, I did not have that on my bingo card. That somebody could sit there for 16 hours doing all this and doing press ups and all the rest of it. It's mad, absolutely mad.
Yeah. I don't think I'll be giving that one a try ever, but
No, I can't see many people giving it a try, to be honest with you.
yeah, it makes sense.
Um,
But yep, speedrunning's funny that way.
oh yeah, I've no doubt. I think I've just checked. It's the 100%, and it's 19 hours is the record.
Good God. I'm surprised there's
If you
that much
do
content in that game.
that's any intensity. There is a difficulty level that goes harder than that, which is intensity level 30, and the record for that was set 3 years ago, and the time, no joke, 1 day, 2 hours and 36 minutes and 56 seconds. I'm fairly certain they did take breaks. I would hope they took breaks because that would kill someone if you did that amount of exercise consistently for
Yeah.
26 hours. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
yeah, it's probably one of the most bizarre things I've seen in recent years. I mean, I've seen games like there is some really long runs. The longest run that I've ever done of a single run game wise that I played was Colin McRae Dirt 2. It was the Dirt 2 100%, which lasted for 11 hours and 15 minutes. Luckily, there was some leeway. So there were some races where I could literally do a lap glitch
Hmm.
and then I could sit and let the cars do laps and I'd never lose. I'd always win. Um, and I would do that, but I would use that as my go to the toilet, eat, drink, whichever. And most of the time I was drinking whilst I was driving.
Hmm.
So it was just kind of like big pint glass or water bottle. That's another thing we haven't even mentioned yet. Speedrunning can be draining. It can be very, I want to call it very physical unless you're doing Ring Fit Adventure or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'll be very physical. Um, but people will probably forget about the fact that like the most important thing to do during speedruns. I'll be honest, I'm guilty of not doing it, so I can't say. I'm not one to talk, but yeah, making sure that if you are doing a long run, I mean, if you're maybe doing it for an hour or two, just have like a glass of water or a bottle of water with you, just so you've got something to hydrate yourself on. And obviously, make sure to take toilet breaks as and when you need them. Don't punish your body to sit and do a speed run for 12 hours. Try and get up, and have a walk around or like stand up or stretch legs. Try and do that. If you're doing a long run, like a really really long run, get some snacks. And get some drinks. Don't go for stuff like Coke
Hmm.
or Pepsi or whatever. Like I know that stuff tastes good, but for a speed run that's 12 hours, it's not ideal. You want something that's more liquid, and I'll say
Hmm.
liquid because I mean less carbonated. So
Yeah.
cordials, squash, whatever, or water even. Just something still. Try and keep your snacks minimum to like don't fill it full of like cheeseburgers and crisps and stuff like that, or chips as you call them in the States. Like maybe have some nuts or a chocolate bar wouldn't hurt. But like, I don't mean a big slab of chocolate that big. I mean like a little Kit Kat or a Twix or something. Have plenty to drink, obviously, as I mentioned. Have maybe like nuts, Plenty of fruit
Hmm.
as well. You don't have to have a massive basket of fruit. That's not what I'm saying. But like, just enough to keep you going, just to nibble on as you go through it. Starvation and dehydration is not the answer, and it's not clever, it's not funny, and it's not healthy.
True.
It is one of the things that a lot of people need to keep in mind. Speedrunning is just like any other hobby. You will need to drink, you will need to eat. The thing is that you don't want to be filling it with all the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Fill it with good stuff or nutritional stuff if you can. And obviously make sure you've got something on hand. And make sure if you're allowed to take a break and pause the timer, great. If not, I'm sorry about that world record that you spent 15 hours on at this point, but you'd rather not. This is one thing that does it for me, but like, do not let your body get killed because of lack of sleep and lack of energy,
Yeah.
and filling it full of pot noodles and preservative stuff. I know I sound like some sort of health food critic or something like that saying all this, but yeah, just make sure you keep your body in good shape, and make sure you're just filling it with the right stuff rather than all the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's most important.
Yeah, I personally kind of stay away from really long runs. I think the longest I've ever done is like 3.5 hours. I can't imagine doing anything longer than that personally. I'm
Yeah,
very much
it's.
a short category kind of person. Like,
I think for me, it's too there's short and too short, and then there's long and too long. I
yeah,
think anything above like 2, maybe 3 hours is long for me, which is why I tend to keep them down. I like 2.5, 3 hours. Okay, fine. I've no biggie with that. It's when you go past the 3 hour mark where I'm like, right, I've got to make sure I've got like a Saturday free or a Sunday free where I can put the hours in.
Mhm.
And if I'm doing like an 11.5 hours, I'm really like, bigging this up. Like I've been practicing for the last couple of days and now I'm going to do it. Sort of thing.
Yeah. But I luckily I don't think I've heard of any horror stories. I obviously I know of people that have done like, you know, 40 something hour run no sleep challenge, and it's like, well, I can't say I'd recommend it. You do you, obviously, but I haven't heard of any like health crises. I don't think. Nothing
No,
comes to mind anyway.
I don't think I've ever heard of the same, but at the same time, it's like a case of there are people out there that can literally, if they so desired, they can really do. I would say they can really outdo it. I've seen people
Yeah.
do like what's it called? Is it like the 1408, 1508, or something? The really
Yeah.
long one.
The
Like I've seen people do that solo, and I'm like, please don't.
1545. There we go.
Yeah, 5045. Yeah, they've done that solo, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
please
about.
don't tell me you did that. Like you did that in one go. Please tell me you took breaks. And they're like, no, I did that, and I'm never doing that again. And I'm like, that's more than enough for the human body to take, in my eyes at least.
Yeah.
It's pretty chaotic.
Yeah, I can't recommend it, but I'm also not gonna just I mean, you do you, I guess, but don't
Yeah, it's
die. Don't die speedrunning. That's not the
no,
way you want to go
exactly.
out.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand why a lot of people do take speedrunning seriously, which is fair. You're allowed to do that. There's nothing against that.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that taking the hobby too seriously can be a really bad thing because of that reason, because of the fact that you could literally have, as I said, malnutrition or anything like that. We're talking about like health hazards at this point. And I don't think that speedrunning is worth neglecting your body over. I never have been one for that.
Yeah.
I think that if you do speedrun as a hobby, just like any other hobby, a bit like eating food, really, you just have to do it in the right quantities, the right amounts, just far and few between. Like I get it, speedrunning can get addictive. I certainly am guilty of that. But at the same time, I do think that as I said, it's not worth neglecting your body over too much, and yeah, it's very very tricky
Hmm.
to get a right balance. But yeah, everything in good amounts is healthy for
Yeah.
sure.
And then obviously there's the mental health side of things too that can be a little harder to balance. But yeah, I mean, again, as you were saying, just with any sport or hobby or anything you take, fairly seriously, you have to be able to recognize when, things are not positive, I guess, whatever that may be. So,
Yeah, it's definitely one for, as we said, like not neglecting. It's definitely one where it's like look after yourself first. Speedrunning is a hobby.
yeah.
Um, and if
Even
you
if you
were to
do it as
start
a
out
full-time
speedrunning,
job, you can make it so it's not destroying your life.
yeah, it is literally one of them where I think is it like too much. You can never have too much of a good thing. I think speedrunning is more a case of you can.
Hmm.
You can definitely have too much of a good thing because if you could. I mean, I suppose having a lot of doing speedrunning for a long time, I have gone through a phase where it was addictive.
Mm.
A bit
Yeah.
like not as addictive as drugs, but like addictive. It
Oh,
was
I've been
definitely
there, yeah.
addictive in some sense. And I was just constantly doing games all the time. Was like firing out the door, like I need to experience of this, need to experience of that, and so on. And the list that I was talking about before, that was kind of like pressure. I'd done that to myself. I put pressure on myself to do that.
Hmm.
But yeah, like overall, I I kind of wish I didn't do that now because whilst it has said, "Hey, you remember them games you didn't speedrun like a few years ago? It's the ones you said you were going to do." A list is great for that. But the other thing is as well is you have to. The one thing I didn't really look at it as was that a list. I didn't see it as a list. I saw it as I had to do it and I had to clear that list. And it turned a bit toxic for me because it stressed me out after a couple of years. And in the end, I gave up and went, this is too much. I need to stop putting all this pressure on myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of that list and I will speedrun what I want when I want. If I get around to it, I get around to it. If I don't, no biggie. I don't have to worry. The whole world isn't on my shoulders. I don't have to, I'm not relying on people to say, hey, when are you going to do a speedrun of this? It's just like I said, it's just one of them hobbies. Making sure that it didn't get too addictive, but also didn't cause lots of stress as well.
Hmm.
Uh, more than anything else. So yeah, yeah, that's it. That's all I got for that bit.
So that was the health segment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think I've asked everything I was planning on. I mean, unless
No,
there's
that's fine.
something we didn't go over that you'd like to.
Uh, I can't really think to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I think I've yapped enough. I think I've made everybody's ears bleed at this point. With all the information about racing games and stuff, and speedrunning. Um, yeah, no, I think I'm all out. I think I'm fresh out. I've got no idea.
Yeah, speaking of exhaustion, we've hit it for the podcast, so got to know when to stop too.
No, no, that's fine.
No.
Uh, yeah,
Um,
no, it's been awesome. Like, thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem. Thank you for saving the weekly streak.
The streak
Yes,
goes on.
we
Yes.
live. Now I can do all the other crap I have to do this weekend. But well, anyway, I guess I'll ask my final questions then. Wrap it up here. So, um, I know you talked about, runs that you thought about doing in the future but haven't yet. I do always ask about future plans in however it relates to speedrunning, so kind of go over that.
Future plans. Future plans. At the minute, I think I actually was asked this question not too long ago as well, and the answer I gave will probably be a bit different to what I gave now.
Hmm.
So, in terms of my future plans or my current goals, at least, I'm planning on trying to get the 80% record for Victory Heat Rally, which is a indie racing game. Hopefully, I can do that soon, maybe tomorrow or in the next couple of days, which would be really good. Would love to have that. In terms of future plans, I'd like to return to some games that I have done previously to either improve my time or to get a record or two back in my control, quote unquote control, but
Hmm.
like in my hands
Yeah.
on SRC. So, for example, I want to return to Driver 2, Driver Parallel Lines. I want to be able to set a time for the 80% category for Driver 3 at some stage, but when that'll happen, I've no idea. I'd like to return back to Monsters Inc., Scare Island for the PS1, and improve my time for the 100%. And I'd like to also try back a few of the games that I haven't done any percent of yet, or just haven't done at all. As I was saying before, like I haven't done Castrol Honda Superbikes for the PS1. I haven't done that yet, but there's no cat. I don't think there's even a leaderboard for that. But I'd love to give that a try. I have also got games on my Xbox 360, which I've been meaning to give a speed run of. MotoGP 06 and 07, Midnight Club Los Angeles,
Hmm.
Looney Tunes Acme Arsenal, Forza Motorsport 2. I'd like to return to. Um, what else? Yeah, I think there's a few others as well. Driving San Francisco is a game I'd love to return to as well, because I haven't got a good time on that, and I would really love to improve on that. Yeah, there's a lot more. There's a lot more, but like in terms of the main ones, there are a few. I do have plans to try and tackle a couple of other games as well, casually first, and then see how they go, speedrun wise. But yeah, for the minute, I'm more or less. I mean, as I said, in my main life at the minute,
Hmm.
me and my partner are trying to buy a house, so a lot of things are on the back burner
Yeah.
until that is obviously sorted, of course. But when that does get sorted out, and like I said, maybe down the line, this will look back and be like, oh, I was looking at buying a house at the time.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I'm hoping that once all that is sorted out and we're then financially stable enough, then obviously we're able to pick, I can pick speedrunning back up properly, and actually be able to get back to stream more consistently than what I am doing. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. Would really love to do that, to be honest. I don't really have too many other plans apart from that. There are a few other games and categories and stuff, but like I said, we'll be here even longer if
Hmm.
I listed them all. So but yeah, I've got a couple of like plans in the pipework to give a try to, and just to see if I can improve on it really.
All right. Well, for the where can people find you to watch the content?
So if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me over at Viper Races on Twitch. That's my main Twitch name. I'm pretty bad at getting all this naming stuff lined up because I'm known as Viper UK in a lot of places and Viper Races on Twitch. But yeah, so I'm known as Viper Races over on Twitch. You can find me on Blue Sky, which is at viperuk .bsky.social, I think it is.
Hmm.
You can find me on Oengus, Spearon.com, and if you want to have a look on YouTube, I do have a channel called Viper Racing. Unfortunately, this is the same name as a game released in 1998. So if you look for Viper Race at Viper Racing 7, you'll find my YouTube channel. I have all my PBs and things on there. I do have a VR VODs channel. I don't really advertise this too often, but that is mainly where I put my playthroughs of games that I've done for Keymailer, where I get indie games and keys and stuff like that. Just in general, like general gaming and walkthroughs and things. I've got them on there as well. Is there any others? Oh, and I have obviously my own personal Discord as well, which feel free to join that if you wish to do so. The link is usually for that is either in my Twitch chat or is underneath my stream at Viper Races. So yeah, maybe I'll see a few new faces in there.
Hmm.
I think that's it. I think that's everything. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll call it a day then. So,
No problem.
yeah. Thanks for coming on the show to yap about the speed running. Always a good time.
No problem. Thanks very much for having me. As I said, very much appreciated.
Yes. And if you're watching live, this will be on YouTube tomorrow since it's Saturday today. Um
Hi YouTube. Hi mom.
Hi YouTube.
You gotta do it. I'm sorry.
No, yeah,
It's just
no,
the
it's
whole
the
like, hi
meme.
mom.
Yep. The whole all caps, hi YouTube, hi summoning salt, hi mom. That's in every speedrun world record.
Oh yeah,
The
that's true.
classic
Yeah.
meme. All right. But yeah, that'll be all. Still trying to do every week. So far, so good. And yeah, just if you're still watching the show, I appreciate your time because it has been quite the ride. Here's to episode 269. Nice.
Hey,
All
only
right.
100 episodes to go.
Oh, you know it. We got to celebrate each nice.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's enough outro for me. So I will end the recording now. Bye. Bye.